When I was younger, I have this crystal clear memory of not the exact incident, but the aftermath of it, wherein I was bawling my eyes out. I felt horrible, and I was getting consoled by my mother. And I remember not only that I was incredibly upset at whatever had happened, but that I was incredibly upset at myself for not dealing with it well, that I, in the aftermath, was so weak. I couldn't just take it on the chin. I couldn't get up. I had failed at failing to take it another step. And my mom always did this same thing when I was really, really upset and I was that age. And she said, David, she said, David, take a big breath and hold it for 10 seconds. And I would do that, and you hold it. And what this is doing, I felt, in retrospect, is giving you a chance to get outside of that feedback loop. I think that humans, so far as I am aware of, that we yet know, are the only people who can worry about worrying, can make themselves suffer for their suffering. And when I got to the end of that 10 seconds, what had happened was specifically nothing. And I think that's the point. It's not only that you calm down, but you realize that at the end of whatever you may think about yourself or whatever it is that you've been through, that life carries on, whether mercilessly or not, it carries on. And so you might as well. I went through a horrible couple days at my work recently, and I thought I would reflect on that for you here, for anybody who's thinking about coming over, and rid you of this illusion that you're gonna come over and have fantastic days. Not only that, to rid yourself of the delusion that you will come over and when you have those horrible days, that you will even bear them with dignity. You won't. Not always. And that's something that I had recently, and I missed classes at my job. I talked about this in the podcast. I not only missed classes, I missed duties with the grade group that I was responsible for. And it tore me to pieces. And where I'm practicing always in my mind how I should act in the face of adversity. I'm 35. I've seen some shit. I've been through some shit from when I was young up to this point now. Could I not, at this point, have finally reached a moment in my life where I could experience something like this and bear it well? Apparently not. But kind of the wonderful thing that happens after that, if you take note of it, is that just like it did before when I held my breath, life carried on. And this death that we die is usually in our minds and no other place. I'm not even saying that it won't lead to something worse. You could eventually, maybe you got fired for the stupid thing that you did, but it's never ultimately over. You're always still there at the end of these mistakes that you make, and the only thing that's keeping you in hell is yourself at that point, and you needn't commit to this feedback loop that is, I think, in some sense, indulgent, but in another, it's the great curse of self-reflection. It's incredibly useful for us to be able to reflect on the things that we've done poorly, but we specifically have this word ruminate to say that we laboriously reflect on things needlessly and more so than does any good for us, and in fact is a detriment to our overall mental health. Because I assure you, when I think back of that time, it was not so much whatever had occurred to me that was tormenting me most. It was that I viewed the way in which I handled it was poorly. And it was the torment about my torment that really was taking me down a notch. So we are ever and always our own worst enemy. And if you allow yourself this, that not only will you will fail spectacularly. You will not be stoic. You'll be a child. You'll be a mewling babe. And there'll be all this fallout and consequences for that. And it's your responsibility to bear those for however poorly you've done. But everyone has the right to, or the gift of, it never stops until the lights go out. And so long as the lights are on, you're going to get to continue on this great adventure. And as I'm so fond of saying, if you do so, then your story has only deepened. I don't want to make this a long one. It was a reflection that I had when coming out of the darkness at the end of these last couple days that I thought should be crystallized into something like this. So a wise, very, very alcoholic man once said, if you find yourself in hell, keep going.